name's Jay Ramey. I'm an attorney, and we're going to talk about your rights during police encounters. I've seen one of the videos about what happened. I guess there's another video going on. Were you there on one of the videos? Okay. And you can ask questions as we go along, and I'll take questions at the end as well. The first thing, number one, is police encounters. There's 3 types of police encounters. I got them all listed there. There's consensual. The next step is you're being detained or detention. The third step is arrest. The police can come up to you at any time when you're standing out on the street and start asking you questions. That's called a consensual encounter. You're not obligated to give any kind of physical ID to the police during any of these encounters. And that's one of the things I saw on the video that the guy shouldn't have done. The police asked him for his ID, and he gave it to him. It's an intimidation tactic they use. Well, first they're demanding you give them something that you own, and then they're going to take it back to their police car. Number one, they're hoping they're going to find a warrant for an unpaid traffic ticket, unpaid cost and fines, or something like that. They're looking for something to arrest you for. And then number two, as we saw in the video, there was something in their master file about he had some previous arrest or something. I don't know what all it was. So then they come out and start asking them about it. And we'll get more to what we do when they ask questions later on. But the number one thing you need to know is you're not required to give them any kind of physical ID, ever. If you're being detained or you're under arrest, you're not required to hand over a physical ID. I got more people coming. Who doesn't have a handout? Who needs a handout? I also got cards too. I'll pass those out at the end. Here, just pass it. Everybody got a handout?
Yes.
All right. Where was I? You never have to give a physical ID to the police officer. If you're in the second or third encounter, the detention or arrest, you're for certain required to give your first name and last name, verbally. So if you're being detained, you're under arrest, you should give your first and last name. Again, during a consensual encounter, you don't have to tell them anything. You don't have to answer any questions, even what your name is. So the question is, how do I know if I'm being detained? There in bold near the bottom, you ask the officer the following: am I free to go, or are you detaining me, or am I free to go? Now, I put parentheses here about my business, because usually I tell people, ask them if you're free to go, and if you're free to go, then go, get the hell out of there and get away from them. Well, that's what they want to happen. They're trying to break up our petition, and they want you to go. So I don't want you, well, you can say, am I free to go? I mean, that's fine, but I don't want you to go. I just want you to ignore them. So ask them, are you detaining me, or am I free to go about my business? Now, one of the games they'll play is, you'll ask them, are you detaining me, or am I free to go? And here at the bottom, they'll say things like this: well, we just want to talk to you. We just got a call, so we have to come out and see what's going on. We just want to know what's going on. If they give you an answer like that, you ask them one more time, are you detaining me, or am I free to go? Unless they say you're being detained or you're under arrest, you should ask them about twice, so am I being detained? If they say you're not being detained, then fine, turn your back on them and ignore them. But they like to give these, these equivocal answers. We just want to talk to you. We got to know what's going on out here. Are you detaining me, or am I free to go? If they don't give you a straight answer, then just ignore them. If they say yes, you are being detained, then stand there and say nothing except the following: I have nothing to say, and I need to talk to my attorney. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. Now, I want to go back on page 1. I got this little caveat here. There's this case, it was a terrible case, decided back in 2008, Costia versus State. It says, as part of the police's caretaking, community caretaking function, the police can ask for a license and conduct a status check, a computer check, when performing a motorist assist. this was a case where these guys had broken down on the highway on the side of the road and a cop came up behind them. The case said the police officer can ask for an ID. And what happened in that case, that the guy gave him the ID, detained him shortly for a few minutes, and then asked for consent to search the car. The court said the police can ask for an ID when they're doing a motorist assist. The case did not say that the motorist had to give them an ID. The case did not say what would happen if they refused. Now, my concern is there may have been some judges already or in the future who will use this case to say, yes, you have to give them an ID, and if you don't, you're obstructing an officer. But this case is limited to a motorist assist. It's not someone out there petitioning out on the street or whatever. So all I'm saying is this issue about having to give an ID, it's kind of a gray area of the law. And if one of you gets arrested and we go to court and we appeal it all the way to the criminal court of appeals, I can't tell you that they might use that to change the law and to add to this copious case, to say you have to give an ID, not only during a motorist assist, but any time a police officer approaches you on the street. I don't think they'd go that far to say that you got to provide an ID at any time. But I'm just giving you a warning. The police asking for ID, it's kind of a gray area. And I'm going to talk more about that later on. What I'm telling you is right now, if it's a consensual encounter, you do not have to give them an ID. If it's a detention or arrest, you don't have to give them a physical ID, but you should give your first or last name.
What if you're a passenger in the car that gets pulled over or something like that? Do you have to give your ID then?
That's another one of those gray areas of the law. I say you don't. I tell my clients you do not have to give your ID if you're a passenger in the car. But again, the prosecutors are going to use this Kofia case to say, well, it's community caretaking function, blah, blah, blah. Well, and we're going to talk more. The very last thing we're going to talk about is, are you willing to get arrested? So if a cop asks you for your ID and you're a passenger, you say, well, I'm not going to give it to you, and I'll figure what he's going to do. He's going to eventually, you're giving your ID or you're going to jail.
That's what you could test. There was 4 of us in the car and 3 of us were passengers,
So at that point, you got to say to yourself, am I willing to take this all away and risk getting arrested, or am I going to give him my ID? Now, I don't tell people what to do. I'm telling you, it's up to you. If you want to risk getting, first of all, I meant to talk about this later, but you brought it up.
Sorry.
They always start the first thing they're going to say, you don't give them the ID, you're going to jail then. Chances are you're not going to go to jail even if you refuse. That's their first intimidation tactic. You're going to jail. That's the first intimidation tactic. You may or may not go to jail. What I'm saying is, are you willing to risk it? So if you're willing to risk it, you refuse to give them ID and let them arrest you. I'm not saying they are going to arrest you, but you let them arrest you, we'll get to court, and we'll get the word out when we go to court.
I didn't say what charges can they give me on if it's not.
Obstructing an officer, I got it listed, it's the very last thing I listed on page 4. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Anyway, hopefully, this shouldn't be an issue at the petitioning sites because you're not going to be in the car. I mean, maybe the car will be parked there, but that shouldn't be an issue. But ask me some more questions at the end if you got any more questions. So does everybody understand what I've said so far about the 3 types of encounters? If a cop can come up and start asking you questions or talking to you at any time, that's a consensual encounter. Until he tells you are being detained or you're under arrest, you've not moved to 2 or 3. It's consensual. You never have to answer any of their questions during any encounter, except perhaps your name, your first name and last name if it's a detention or arrest. Is that clear? I thought I put in here. Yeah, it's on page 1. If he says he's going to write you a citation, you're violating some kind of city ordinance by waving a flag, or he's going to write you a citation. It's in your best interest to hand you over your ID then so he can write you the citation, because if you don't give him the citation, he's probably going to arrest you. So if he says, I need your ID to write a citation, then I would give him my ID, because it's better to get a citation than take it to jail. Number 2, recording. In the state of Oklahoma, it's perfectly legal to record police encounters. So if you see the police coming, I hope at least one person has a phone, whether they have a recorder on it. If you see him coming, get it going. Don't start sticking it in their face. Don't be, start doing that. I think the one video, it looked like it was hung around his neck. That was you? Was it hung around your neck or something?
No, I was just in my hand.
Oh, okay.
In front of me.
You did fine. I didn't see you, because sometimes you see people doing the stick it in their face, and then that'll piss them off. You don't want to do that. But even if they say it's illegal to do it, if they tell you you can't do that, we are gonna arrest you unless you turn that recorder off. It's not illegal in the state of Oklahoma to record police encounters, so do not let them intimidate you to turn the recorder off. All right, number 3, we're on page 2. Tell me your name again.
Michael Jackson.
Mike. You did very well. You did great. I like the way you remain calm and cool.
Thank you.
We want to remain calm and cool, and I know I'm pretty hot-headed, and you don't want to be harassed by these people. But the thing is, if this goes to court and we pull that video out and show it to the jurors or the judge or whatever, we want to show that we were calm, we were cool, it was the police officers that were being harassing, and of course she called you an asshole at that one point. You don't want to use any one word of profanity. You want to be Mr. Now don't confuse me by saying Mr. Nice Guy. You want to be Mr. Nice Guy, but you don't want to be Mr. Nice Guy by answering all their questions and doing everything they want. But you just talk to them in a nice manner.
Yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, that sort of thing.
Well, I don't even say I don't call him sir or ma'am. That's fine. That's fine.
Except military brainwashing. But
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying don't do that, but don't.
Basically show respect.
To an extent.
All I'm saying is, do not confuse politeness with doing everything they tell you to do.
Yeah.
Or doing everything they want, or answering all
Yeah.
their questions.
Yeah, it was like
Well, because that's what she said. You're
there's
not
a
cooperating.
there's a difference
Well,
between
you have
being
to cooperate.
polite and being submissive.
All right. Police question. As I said before, during any of the police encounters, you do not have to answer any questions. Even if they tell you have to answer my questions, even if they say you're an asshole, even if they say you're not cooperating, you don't have to answer anything, any questions at all. Except if they tell you you're being detained or under arrest, you should give your first and last name. That's it. And I talked to Sam, and we've agreed, and this is what I wanted to tell you when I came here, but he's agreed with me. If the police arrive and ask, the first question they ask, what are you doing? Even if they're being nice and polite, what are you guys doing here? What's going on? You should say one of the two things here on page 2. We were referring all questions to our lawyer, and I understand there's going to be a list of perhaps other lawyers. I'm telling you all right now, I'm agreeing to be the lawyer to every individual petitioner. You can refer them to me, they call me, or you can just simply say, I'm not answering any questions and I need to speak to my attorney. I want everyone to have one of my cards. You see the police coming, you should get that card out. Your hand ready to go. You tell them we're referring all questions to our lawyer, and you give them my phone number. They're probably not going to call me. If they call me, they may or may not get a hold of me, depending on what's going on at that time. It doesn't matter. The point is, you tell them, I want to talk to my attorney, or I want you to talk to my attorney. It's important to do that because you have 2 rights to remain silent. None of this is, you don't have to write this down, remember this, but you need to assert 2 of your rights. You got a 5th Amendment right to remain silent. You got a 6th Amendment right to counsel. So, by saying, I'm not making any statements, and just say something about, I want to talk to my attorney, or I want you to talk to my attorney, you're asserting 2 of your rights to remain silent. And again, we're not answering any questions anymore from these guys. Even if they come up friendly and nice, what are you guys doing here? We're not answering questions, we want to talk to my attorney. Well, I just want to know, I'm not being mean or anything. Well,
So immediately when they ask us what
anything.
they're doing, we say, I want to talk to my attorney.
The first thing you say, we're referring all these questions to our lawyer. And/or, I'm not answering questions, I want to speak to my attorney. What do you need an attorney for if you're not doing anything wrong? I got nothing to say, I want to talk to my attorney. Oh, well, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. I got nothing to say, I need to talk to my attorney. They're gonna pull that crowd. They're gonna start saying stuff to try to get you to talk. It's so easy to say. I got nothing to say. I need to talk to my attorney. You just say it over and over until they finally get it. All right, everybody got it? If after you say that, they may say some of the things I put down here on the bottom of page 2. You need a permit. You can't do whatever, flag waving or sign waving. You are violating the law. You can't be here. This is when we start asking the questions. We don't answer their questions. We ask them questions. Once they say that, you say, please provide me with a citation of the law I'm violating. See, and they're probably not going to be able to do this because they're just making crap up. Like with you, they were just making crap up. But you tell them, what citation am I violating? You know, the cops, they have, just like some of us attorneys have, these cops, they have little cheat sheets in their car that, you know, they can look this stuff up if there's really something you're violating. But they're, you know, once you ask them that, they're probably going to just start making general statements or such. But if they provide you with an exact statute or city ordinance, write it down. I mean, you may have it on video, which is fine, but if you can, write it down. And clarify whether the police are saying you're violating a state statute or a city ordinance. These permit things and these rules against flags and all this and that, those are almost all city ordinance violations. There's hardly any state statutes on that. But again, I don't think there was any violation in your case anyway. But ask them that and get it on the record, the citation that they're saying that the citation of the law is saying you're violating. Number 5, and I think this is where what would have happened in your case. If they wanted you to make some kind of admission that you were prosecuted for drugs, and they were going to ask you more questions, and I guarantee sooner or later they're going to ask you for consent to search. I guarantee it. That was coming.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The police might ask to search your pockets, your car, any of the materials you got. You may have boxes set up or something. They may ask for permission to search. The answer to that is always no. No consent to searches. And I put off, and there's no even ifs. Even if the police say you have to, even if they threaten to arrest you or whoever's with you, even if they say they'll call for a drug dog, even if they get mad and yell at you, the answer to consent to search is always no. Now, with that said, we shouldn't be going to any of these petition sites with anything illegal in our car. That's just common sense. You're going to have to wait till later on if you need to do something. I wouldn't have anything in my car. And I get clients all the time, they get pulled over on some pipe that's found underneath their seat or some baggie with residue stuff somewhere. Oh, I didn't know it was there. You better know if it's there. You better clean out your car before you go out to any of these sites. The car you're going to take to the petitioning site, you better clean it out. You better check everywhere and make sure there's nothing in it. But what do we do if the cop asks for consent to search?
Nope.
Nope.
Never.
Nope.
Can I search your car?
They got it.
Okay. Now, you know, and of course, the next things that will come, well, what, you got something to hide? You're making me suspicious because you don't get to sit search your car. What's going on? I got nothing to say. I need to talk to my attorney. All right? Don't start answering their questions about, you know, well, it makes me suspicious. You don't have to argue with them. Tell them, you don't need to be suspicious. Yeah, I'm a good person. You tell them, I got nothing to say. I need to talk to my attorney.
And sarcastic comments.
Yeah. All right. General do's and don'ts. Don't ask the police for the badge number. You don't need their badge number. Don't tell the police, I know my rights. Don't tell the police, I'm going to sue you. Don't tell them you're going to make a complaint.
Or a citizen arrest.
Right. And something I hear and something, I'm going to pick on you a little bit because you shouldn't have done it. You asked them, they were asking you about your history, and you see it, am I legally required to answer? Don't ever ask them if you're legally required to do something. They're not your lawyer. They're not your advocate. They're always going to say, yes, you have to answer my questions, or you have to do this, you have to do that. You show them that you know what you're legally required to do or not to do because you've read this thing and you've been here to my little talk and you know what you're legally required to do. Don't ask them. Do get the names of all the police officers on the scene. You usually get that by looking at their name tag and then just read it out loud so it's on the tape recorder or somebody write it down. And if you can't see it, then ask them, you know, what is your name? Ask for a supervisor to come to the scene if you think they're getting unreasonable, harassing, or intimidating. I mean, of course, you'd rather them just go away, but if it doesn't, you don't want another one of them to come to the scene. But if you really feel concerned for your safety and they're not leaving, you can always ask for a supervisor to come to the scene. Whether they come or not, I don't know. I know there's some police departments have a policy that if you ask for a supervisor, he's supposed to come. I don't know about Tulsa Police, I don't think they have that policy, but you can always ask for a supervisor. Well, and just what I said before, just make sure there's nothing illegal in your pockets, bags, or cars. You know, the last thing when we talked about here just a minute ago, can I be arrested? All these things I'm telling you about, you cannot be legally arrested for. You certainly cannot be legally arrested for refusing to answer any questions. You cannot legally be arrested for refusing to consent searches. Now, I told you there's some little bit of gray area about the ID stuff. But as long as they tell you you're not being detained, at the state of the law as it is right now, you do not have to provide any ID. Any ID, even your name, you don't even have to tell them your name. Unless they tell you you're being detained, or if you're under arrest, it doesn't matter. They're gonna handcuff you and they're gonna take your wallet, they're gonna find your ID anyway. If you're being detained, the state of law as it is right now is you should give your first and last name, but you shouldn't be required to give a physical ID. But the last thing I put, this caveat, the obstruction of a public officer, I get people charged with this all the time. Any person who willfully delays or obstructs any public officer, that includes a police officer, in the discharge or attempt to discharge any duty of his office is guilty of a misdemeanor. That is so vague, it can cover anything. But what I'm telling you is, I don't care what this law says, you're never gonna get in trouble for refusing to answer questions and refusing a search. If refusing to give ID, this is what they're gonna pull out. They're gonna pull out, I was detaining him for investigation of violation of the permit, something or other, and he wouldn't give me an ID. So what I'm telling you is, if you're being detained, you should give your first name and last name. But as the law stands right now, you don't have to give an ID. If you're not being detained, either he doesn't tell you you're being detained, or he tells you you're not being detained.
Oh, okay.
You are not required to say anything at all. And, going back to 4, you should not answer any questions. Now, as I've said, in Tulsa County and all the surrounding counties, I'm going to represent anybody who wants me to be their attorney if you get arrested for no charge. If you get arrested and put in the Tulsa County Jail, I can bond you out on an OR bond. Now, the question is, are you gonna be able to get a hold of me? It may be hours, it could be hours, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm in court or down at the jail or something. But at least within 3 or 4 hours, I'm gonna be able to bond you out. But if you wanna bond out on your own, that's fine. And some of the stuff, if they're gonna write you up for the permitting stuff, for not having a permit, they're probably gonna give you a citation. They're probably not gonna arrest you for that. But regardless, if you get arrested for obstructing or whatever, or you get some citation, some stupid citation, I will represent anybody and everybody in Tulsa County and all the surrounding counties at no charge. I got some of my cards. If you didn't get one of my cards, get one before you leave. And this is what I want you guys to do. If the police approach you, one person get me on the phone, another person, there's at least 2 people at all these places, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So one person try to get me on the phone immediately. If I at my cell phone, don't call my office, because I may not be out on the road, or I may be standing in the hallway of the courthouse. Call my cell phone. If I don't answer, leave me a message. Tell me where you're at, and briefly tell me what's going on. If you get me on the phone, that's great, we'll talk about it. But, and if I can, I will come down there, depending on how far you are and what I'm doing, I'll come down there immediately. And if you leave me a message, and I get it within 30 minutes, I'll come down there immediately. But anyway, bottom line is, I will represent anybody who gets arrested or cited, again, in Tulsa County or the surrounding counties. If it's out in the Panhandle, we're gonna have to figure something else out. Sam told me maybe they're gonna put together a list of some other attorneys who would be available, and I think he said that you've already got people in the Oklahoma City area. I will take phone calls from anywhere in the state. Who's recording? Yes, someone's recording. Anywhere in the state, if you don't have anybody to call, and you got my thing, my cell phone's on there, call me. I mean, that's fine, call me if the police are there. harassing you, but I'm not gonna be right down there if you're in Woodward, and I probably won't represent you in court if it's Woodward either. But you can call me and say, hey, I need to call my attorney, call me on the phone. Oh, no, I didn't write down here, but I wanted to say, if you get me on the phone and the cop says he wants to talk to me, do not give the cop your phone. Do not give the cop your phone.
Ooh.
Because as soon as he hangs up, he's gonna keep it and he's gonna start going through it.
Right.
But they love to go through people's phones.
Yes, it is.
So either put me on speakerphone, and I'm half deaf anyway, I probably won't be able to hear, or just tell him to call me. But do not give the cop your phone, all right? Even if he orders you to give him the phone, do not give your phone. And if he's somewhere or another, they get your phone, and he orders you to give him the passcode, well, first of all, I hope everyone got their phone password protected. If you don't, do it. If somewhere or another you've left it sitting on a table and he grabs it and says, I want to know your passcode, you do not give him your passcode. Even if he says, oh, you're going to jail, even if he threatens you with who knows what, do not give him your passcode to your phone. All right, that covers everything. Questions?
Yeah, do you have this packet of information somewhere online, the one you're holding there?
No, I do not.
But,
Do you need one?
Yes.
Is there up there?
yeah,
Yeah,
over
I've
there
got a whole
and,
bunch of copies.
yeah, and you should take one of his cards.
Yeah, definitely.
What we do if an officer wants to become combative, if he wants to put hands on, if we're not listening and we're doing exactly what you've asked, and they wanna put hands and physically try to make.
All right, I've already got one.
But I'm not saying it's ever gonna happen, but there are those officers.
You got one?
that like to take it.
Yeah, so, yeah, pass it around.
Well, that's a good question, because, I mean, obviously, if you fight back, you're gonna be charged with assault and battery,
Right.
police officer, which is a felony.
Right.
I mean, I don't think they will try to make you physically move. What they're gonna say is, okay, if you don't move, they're gonna say you're under arrest
Right.
for obstructing or for some other crap they make up. I don't think that would happen, that they would try to make you physically move.
I personally, about a year and a half ago, had some issues at my house. Had two officers come out on the side of my house, and they were trying to give me a citation for some stuff that I had in the trailer next to my house. And when they approached me, they asked for my ID because they wanted to give me a citation. And I wasn't willing to give my ID just like that. The city workers over there, they were part of the problem, and they asked for my ID as well. They wanted to give me a $250 fine. I didn't quickly give my ID. They chased me onto my trailer. They were gonna, as I was walking back, I was damn near tripping, reached in my wallet and did like this with my ID
Right.
because they were wanting to physically hurt me. So I'm just curious.
Well, I can't tell you what to do. What I'm telling you is, if you fight back, you're
No,
gonna be
just
charged.
basically just let them do what they're gonna do to me if they're gonna do it, and just take my,
In Oklahoma, you can resist. You can resist being assaulted by a police officer, you can resist an illegal arrest in Oklahoma.
okay?
The thing is, guess whose word is gonna be against your
Yeah,
word?
it's gonna be, yeah, we gotta prove it.
If it's your word against two police officers, you're the one who started the fight, you're the one who hit them first,
Right.
you assumed a fighting stance, you clenched your fist, you thought they're gonna write. I was
They felt
scared
in
for my life.
danger.
Yeah, exactly,
So everything falls back on video, make sure we got video, somebody recording at all times.
exactly.
Yeah.
I hope everyone, at least one person at each of these sites has a bit of phone, has video. If you don't, bring a camera. Do what?
One thing I need is an SD card.
Well,
One person should have a video, whether it's a phone, a camera, a recorder, at least get an audio recorded at the very least.
Well, I heard that is audio, is it legal, I guess?
In Oklahoma, as long as one person is part of the conversation, it's legal.
Well, I know the video thing is, it's been taken all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it's, you know, what I mean, it came out that we can record them, and that they strongly recommend that we record at all police confrontation, whatsoever, whether it's good or bad, so.
In Oklahoma, you can record audio,
Okay.
as long as one person knows the recording's here. You don't have to tell the cop you're recording. You can put your phone in your pocket.
Right.
As long as you know it's your phone and you know it's being recorded, in Oklahoma, you're fine.
Okay.
We've been doing it, because we've been going out in Grace, we've been doing it that one main person interacts with the cops only. We're sitting there recording it, but one main person does that, so that way we don't have multiple people going at them, rushing.
Right.
So is it consistent or better to have one main person deal with them And
That's
that way we
what I
don't
would.
have a lot of people in
Somebody
there, in their
designated
faces
for that.
causing problems.
That's what I would recommend. One person, if the cops show up, one person approaches them.
Preferably the cool, calm, collected.
Yes, not me.
We've been doing it where the one person talks and then somebody's back behind them recording.
Right.
And then that way, one person is only talking, we all have to deal with it that way. So we just, I think maybe when we go out in our groups, we need to make sure that the only one person is doing it and one person is recording.
Okay.
So
Well,
that way
actually,
we don't have that
yeah,
problem.
I'd have multiple people
Right,
recording. You've got
different
multiple people
Yeah,
there.
if not that, but just not a whole bunch of people at once
Yeah, have one person that designated,
talking.
again, with all, the only talking you're gonna say is that we got nothing to say when you talk to our attorney.
We decided on what's allowed and what's not as far as where we're setting up and because no petitioning has ever been done this way. This is totally new. We're setting up, so we have an easement, we have a public easement, we have a right, a place that where we can actually set up that's accessible to the public, where we don't have to worry about no permit, right?
Well, that's outside of the scope of what I came here to talk about today.
Okay.
Because I know the ACLU of Oklahoma is helping you guys out with this, and I'm gonna let them, deal with those issues more because they know more about that stuff
Gotcha,
than I do.
okay.
I kinda started looking, cause it's very confusing, and the thing is, like I told you, it's almost all this permit stuff and signs and stuff, it's all based on city ordinance. So
Right.
Tulsa can be different from Broken Arrow, can be different from Jinx. What I can tell you is, if you can petition on a public sidewalk, you can't block the sidewalk.
Right.
I think there were signs stuck in the grass. I think you can't do that, because it has to be so far back from the curb.
Okay.
But you can petition anywhere. You can stand on any public property and petition anywhere. You can hold a sign in your hand anywhere. That for certain.
I know, I see the pizza, the
Right.
oil change, the going out of business, liquidation.
So we need to tie our signs to like our tent covers,
Yeah.
basically.
Do what?
Tie our signs, like our banners to tent covers. Or like right there where we're gonna have a table.
Yeah, just don't stick anything in the ground like our flags.
Yeah, just can't stick it in the ground.
Well,
We tie it to
if
like
it's
our-
so many feet from the curb, like I ran for
And
office a
then-
couple years back, and
Yeah,
some lady from the code enforcement, my secretary said, she's out still on your signs. And I go out there and I see her, she's doing this walking off and stuff. And I go out there, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And my signs were way back from the curb.
Right.
And she's like, oh, well, they gotta be so many feet. And after she told me that, I went and looked it up, and it was just so confusing. But anyway, I moved it back as far as she said, and there was no, I mean, this is my building where I rent. I mean, it wasn't public property, it was our building, and she still won't tell me. And then, well, there were some more signs down the road that she wasn't messing with, which kind of, that were on public property, and kind of pissed me off why she's here.
They can take signs out of your yard if they're not
Right.
the distance from the street.
Exactly.
Yeah. Even though it's your,
But I can tell you 100% for sure, if you're on public property, you can stand there and ask people to sign the petition. You can hold signs all you want. That's 100% sure.
I'm not really for sure about the table and the canopy.
Well, what I saw on the video, and I meant to talk about this too. It looked like the table and the canopy, I don't know if there was a canopy, there was a table in the parking lot.
Right.
Now, that's private property. Now, if the police may come and tell you, you can't be here, this is private property. Well, until the business owner says you can't be there or tells the cops, we want them out of here, the cops have no enforcement authority to tell you you can't be there. And unless the cop says, we've talked to the manager of whatever, and he told us that he wants us to run you off. Okay, fine. But they can't make it up on their own to say you can't be here because you're on private
I think
property.
we've had an incident like that.
we've had a few incidents like that.
so one of the property owners.
Well, more like the police officers called the property.
Oh,
So if I've talked to somebody like that owns their business, like there's a club and a bar and it's in a shopping center and they've okayed us for us to be there, like what if the other business owners have a problem?
Well, see, now you're getting into questions, who does the parking lot belong to? Is it a community parking lot, or does it belong to one business? I don't know for each individual business you go to, what the issue's gonna be, but let's say there's two businesses in a parking lot for both businesses. I would think if one business gives you permission to be out there, and you're directly in front of his store, it doesn't matter what the other business has
Well,
to
what
say.
it is, it's a little strip, and there's a couple of businesses, there's probably about 4 or 5, and there's a gas station on the corner. But this one particular business, she owns both of them right next door to each other, and she's already okayed us.
I think if we set up out front of her door, we should be okay.
Right. Well, certainly if you're right in front of her door, certainly. If you're out by the street in front of her door, you should be okay. Now, again, these are getting these issues of property law stuff that I'm not well versed in. Has any other property owner come out and told you you can't be
Well, we
there?
haven't been there
Yeah,
yet, we
that's-
just got it okayed last night.
Do those, phone places that have their little tents set up all over town to offer free smartphones?
Right.
Do they have permits? Do they, cause they're set up
Everywhere.
on the public, yeah, and it's in the public easements. They're
Okay.
not, you know, they're just off the sidewalk.
This is another issue that I'm not well versed in, but there's two kinds of, what am I trying to say, solicitation or advertising, whatever. There's commercial and there's non-commercial. Commercial can be regulated. So those things, they can be regulated more than what we're doing.
Okay, because they're giving the phones away. So they're not
Regardless,
really-
if it's commercial.
Oh, okay.
If they're giving them away, if they're selling them, if they're advertising, those can be more regulated.
Okay.
Because what we're doing is protected by the First Amendment. They cannot stop you from petitioning on any public property. They cannot stop you from petitioning on any private property you've been given permission to be on.
Yeah, I was just curious because they're everywhere, so I wondered if every one of them had to get permission from
I'm sure that,
somebody to be
yeah,
at that
if
spot.
they're on any kind of private property, they're gonna have to have
Yeah,
permission to
but
be
they're
on.
mostly on easement, the grass, right there on the corner, they're not, you know, in the parking lot, they're just, looks like public easement to me.
Well, all I can tell you is those people can be regulated far more than what we're doing. They cannot put any
Yeah, it's okay.
they can put some restrictions. I mean, you can't go out there with put up a big tower or something on some easement. But you can stand there and petition, and you can certainly hold signs or flags. That's a certain. Any more questions?
Nope.
All right, let me look at your phone.
No, I'm just kidding.
You can't have the password.
What's the
I knew he was gonna, I knew he was gonna.
All right, can I have permission to search a car? All right. Will anybody give me permission to search the car?
Nope.
All right.
What has she doesn't have one?
If you don't have one, you don't have to worry about it. All right. Unless there's any more questions, we're done. Be sure everyone gets one of my cards for you
You're
later.
giving it up willingly? Come on, what is the first rule?
I know, right? You're right.
Well, you gotta work for it, trust me, yeah.
So each one of my cards.
We pass them around, so everybody has one.
I've got one. but-
Right?